We are here at the Leiden Academy on Vitality and Aging, and I'm talking with Professor Joris Slaats, who is the director of the Academy and the Professor of Geriatric Medicine. Professor Slaats, you've done a lot of research on positive well-being and older people. What do you mean with positive well-being?
Well, I think one of the first things which are important is to make a distinction between positive and negative well-being. So well-being is a general term, and it is related to what people are feeling during the day. So it's about emotions. Mm-hmm. And we have positive and negative emotions. And we can label our positive emotions being happy, being content, being with a loved one, this kind of things, enjoying food, enjoying drinks, music. So these are positive emotions related to positive well-being. And of course, life also has negative emotions, and especially for elderly. So in the term of well-being, we have a positive aspect and a negative aspect as well. So we have suffering, we have mourning, we have all kinds of, we can have diseases, disablements, complaints in a physical way, but also in a psychosocial way.
And when doctors see older patients, how do they distinguish positive and negative well-being in their work?
They don't. We trained doctors for more than 100 years to heal patients, to heal diseases, to cure. So the attitude of a doctor is to be oriented to negative well-being. What are you suffering from in a physical way or in a psychosocial way? Are you depressed or lonely or anxious? Do you have pain? Do you have complaints of heart failure? Do you have problems with your eyes, with your memory? So doctors are trained to be focused on negative well-being, not on positive well-being.
And do you think that doctors should be focused on positive well-being also?
Yes, they should, especially in long-term care and in elderly care, because then preferences of people become very important. So what is important in the life of an elderly person? And that can be completely different things. So that's more what is important for the person than what is an optimal treatment for a disease. And an optimal treatment for a disease can be very unproductive to the personal well-being of the patient. It can be productive, it can increase chances to feel happy, to generate positive well-being, but it can be very negative also.
How can doctors focus more on positive well-being? How should they do that?
I think the first question is the most important. How do we start a conversation in our offices? And the first question should be, what is important in your life now? What do you want to do with your life? And what is important in terms of well-being, positive well-being as well as negative well-being? And only after we have an answer to this question, we can try to figure out a treatment plan, so that the treatment plan is increasing the chances for positive well-being for this person. And it's a very individual choice. So it's not only related to treatment protocols, because they are targeted on diseases, but it's related to what is important for this person at this moment in his or her life.
We talked about what doctors can do. What can people themselves do to increase their positive well-being?
I think they can do a lot. They have a lot of responsibility themselves. And the first thing they could do is to be aware of what is going on in their life. It's astonishing sometimes in my office when I ask an elderly person, what makes you happy this week? And then the old lady wasn't able to answer, and her daughter is next to her, and she said, well, 2 days ago, you stayed in our home and you played with my children and you were very happy. And then you see a big smile on the face of this old lady. So the awareness of what is really important in my life and to talk about this with other people is extremely important. And then you can start to work on what am I going to do in my life? What are the choices I make for my relationships, for the places I'm living, for the house where I'm living in? So there are a lot of choices to make which are very important for positive well-being.
And what are tricks people can use themselves to find out what is important for them?
I think it's good to really be aware of emotions during the day. So in childhood, life is driven by the things you have to learn. In adulthood, life is a career. You have to work for your career, you have to work maybe for your children. So it's a completely different thing when you're older. And then I think we have to realize what are the emotions I have during the day, what are my positive emotions, what is bringing me happiness, and what is bringing me sadness or something like that. And how am I able to improve my position? What can I do myself to be the person I like to be? Now, not the person I was 20 years ago, that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. The person I want to be now when I'm 80 years old. And there is a lot you can do yourself.
Are you talking about all the small things that you do every day, and that you should become more aware about how you feel when you do these things? And yeah.
Well-being is a lot of positive well-being is not about the big things. It's about the small things in life, and it's about things we can experience at this moment. So the hedonic part of positive well-being, enjoying food, a drink, just rest in the sunlight, just talking, playing with other people. So there is a part of positive well-being which is really related to the present, and there is a part of positive well-being which is related to more deeper, long-term relationships with other people. And probably that's the most important part. So if people don't have meaningful relationships, then it becomes very difficult to experience positive emotions and positive well-being. So the feeling of self, who am I, is always related to other people. But we can do a lot about the social context we are in, not when it's too late. So if you want to do something about this, you have to think about your position earlier in life.
In this course, we talked a lot about how the environment also influences people's behavior and the health of people. Do you think the environment is also important for positive well-being?
I think it's extremely important, and that's also what we see in our research. If you ask people, what are the most important things in your well-being, positive as well as negative, then the environment, the physical environment, for instance, the house and the neighborhood, is always in the top 3 of most important things. And astonishing, it's more important than health in the experienced well-being. So the physical environment and also the social environment is extremely important.
And how can people influence their environment to create more positive well-being?
There is a responsibility for the people themselves, and there is a responsibility for the people who are developing public spaces. So how do we build houses for people? How do we organize the public space? Is it inviting people to come to public spaces, to meet each other, to sit there, to enjoy activities? So the way we are constructing the environment is very important to seduce people to come there and to have social lives together and to meet each other and to do things which are contributing to their mutual quality of life, to their mutual well-being.
Can you give an example of an environment that is like that, which seduces people to come out and interact?
Yeah, well, if you look at how we build houses for elderly people in the last 30 years, it was built for privacy and for comfort. So the result was lonely people who are sitting in their chair for the whole day before a television screen. So we have to build complete the opposite thing. So the houses should be so that people are seduced, maybe a little bit obliged to come out and to meet each other. And so we can make the public spaces so that they are attractive, so that people can, whatever handicaps or impairments they have, that they can go out, that they feel comfortable in such a public space, to be there, to enjoy all kinds of people, young and elderly, to have activities within the public space. And they, if you go to the south of Europe, it's very interesting. They are far more better in constructing little squares and plains and areas where people can meet each other, young and old. And people, they really should have the feeling that these are areas for themselves. So they should have the feeling, we have something to say here. It's not designed and it's not obligatory by a regulatory authority, it's not normative, but we have something to say in what we like here in this neighborhood and what we think we need to have a social life with each other.
Yeah. So the physical environment, how the public space is designed, can influence how people interact with each other and whether they go outside and meet. And what about the social environment? Is there a responsibility for people there too?
Yeah, I think that's also a responsibility. For most people, social relationships are very, very important in their personal well-being. So if you don't have social relationships, then it's very difficult to feel well, to have positive emotions. But there is a responsibility not only for the community, but also for the people themselves. In our research, we asked elderly people, why are you sitting alone in your room? And why are you going, because a lot of things are organized here in the neighborhood. And the answer is, we never did anything when we were younger for our neighborhood. So we are not in the position to ask something or to be there. And that's a very sad situation. So people should be aware that in order to stay connected to a community, you have to invest in that community. Also when you are younger, when you are vital and fully capable of doing a lot of things.
Do you think that there's a responsibility of the community, the neighborhood, also when people grow older, or is that something more for the family? Or
social cohesion used to be organized along family lines in a vertical way, and what we are seeing now is that this is disappearing because we have smaller families and longer distances. So this is difficult. And what is emerging now in neighborhoods are horizontal networks. So people in a neighborhood, and often it's within a certain age category. Not always. Sometimes age categories are mixed, but often elderly people in a neighborhood stick together, make plans, and are organizing a lot of things, from walking clubs to reading clubs to name it, to visits to a museum. So it's up to them. But the organization is really the responsibility of the neighborhood themselves. So the people who are living there, they have to stick together. They have to say, well, we think this is important and we will organize it. The moment you come into a neighborhood with a normative point of view, so you need to go to a museum, this and this and this, we think this is necessary for the happiness of this neighborhood, it will not work. The only thing you can do is to make opportunities. And then the people themselves, they are in charge.
How do you create opportunities?
To be less restrictive, to be less controlled. So if you look at Ghent, the lovely green streets in Ghent, the difficulty is that you have to skip many of the normative rules we have put in place as a local authority, as a national government. In a community, people want to be creative, they want to be themselves. And it's very difficult for a government who wants, they are there to create law and order, structure, the same for everybody. And we have to find a better balance between what is really necessary to organize from a central point of view, normative, for safety, for justice, that's important. But I think it's out of balance. I think we have too much regulated on a small scale level of a neighborhood, of a community. So give them more freedom. That's creating opportunities.
Yeah. In the course, we have seen how the environment plays an important role both in people's health. It was great to reflect on how it also can influence positive well-being. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.